If you have a television or a radio or a Twitter account, you've heard about our keynote speaker. A member of the Judiciary Committee and the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, Congressman Jordan has led the fight to root out corruption in the FBI and the Special Counsel's Office, and it turns out just about everywhere else that the Obama administration had set up before they left office. He has consistently led to protect the right to life in Washington. He is working hard to help President Trump secure our borders. A leading ally of President Trump's in the Congress, Congressman Jordan regularly consults with the president, in fact. He has always believed that serving in Congress is simple. Just do what you said. In fact, he is known on Twitter as the creator of the Do What We Said hashtag. So just go look that up on Twitter, Do What We Said, and you'll see him right there. As you might guess, he has an extremely busy schedule. And Tom Liebrecht and I attended the Allen County GOP luncheon last November. We met with him afterwards and asked him if he would come and speak with you tonight, and he agreed to do so. Well, again, he's a busy man, because when I saw him at the luncheon in February, I told him I was thrilled that he was coming to join us. I was looking forward to his coming to Putnam County in March. And he said, "I'm coming to Putnam County?" I said, "You're coming to Leipsic." He said, "I'm coming to Leipsic?" He said, "Am I speaking?" I said, "I sure hope so." Because you're going to leave a whole lot of disappointed people if you don't. I am pleased to say that he is here in the flesh, and I think if we treat him right, he'll even take a few of your questions. Congressman Jim Jordan.
Chairman, thank you for your energy and enthusiasm. I think it's contagious, and I think this crowd's a testament to your hard work. And frankly, our state chairman, Jane Timken, has that same kind of intensity. She's doing an outstanding job for our state, for our team. To our Supreme Court justices, good to be with you again, and thank you for the great work that you do. Secretary of State LaRose, we appreciate what you do as well. You mentioned the polling before your election. Never forget what Reagan said. It's not the reviews that count, it's what happens at the box office. And you showed them that Reagan was right. Representative Hoops and Senator McCauley, thank you as well. We know the hard work you do at the State House for all of us. And there are folks in politics that you wish weren't. Most of them are Democrats, right? And then there are people like your Congressman, Bob Black, who you are glad chose public service. You're glad his family chose public service. The right values, the right principles, just the right perspective. And it's an honor to serve alongside of him in the United States Congress. And we do want to thank you for sending him there to represent those principles that make our country special. And last, I want to thank the people who sang. That was great. Bob on the piano back here in our group, and I forget the lady who sang the national anthem. That was great as well. I appreciate good singing and musical talent because I don't have any. My wife does. She was in the leading all the plays and singing, and she's an art teacher. She got all this talent. I got zero. In fact, I have this unique distinction, and this is true. The only kid in the history of Graham South Elementary who was not allowed to be in the choir. So true. This is back. I'm old now, and I tried out for the Christmas musical just because I wanted to get out of class and hang out with my buddies. And Mrs. Mason was our music teacher, wonderful lady. But this is back in the days where they weren't quite as focused on self-esteem for kids. It's like, you know, she put something in front of me, and I attempted to sing it. And when I got done, I thought it was alright. You know, I was just a dumb kid. And Mrs. Mason looked at me and she said, "Jordan, you are so bad. There is no way I'm letting you in my choir." She was kind enough to let me run like the lights and the spotlights. At least I got out of class and got to hang out with my buddies. So we appreciate that the singing that was so good earlier. And thank you to all of you. I say this probably every speech I give, no matter if I'm in the state, in the district, or around the country. I say this to everyone. Thank you for getting in the fight. We are at an important time, as many speakers have said before. I learned a long time ago, you want to accomplish anything that matters, anything of significance or lasting value, it takes work, it takes effort, it takes sacrifice, and most importantly, it takes a willingness to assume the risk associated with trying to accomplish a worthy goal. This is the way God made it. It's not easy. When you get in this game, in today's world, with the way the left is, You are going to be attacked. Bob and I get it all the time. The press will say all kinds of lies, and they don't care. They'll just keep saying it. You're going to get attacked. Bob held up the Washington Post. I love the way. Yeah, no, I know. They're crazy. The way normal people think, like folks here in Putnam County and West Ohio and Northwest Ohio, and the way the elite national media, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the way they think. And a guy that I have a lot of respect for is a syndicated columnist, Cal Thomas. Some of you may have read him before, but he has a great line. I heard him say this a long time ago, but it sort of captures this, the way normal people think and the way the elite national media thinks. Cal Thomas says, I get up every morning, I read my Bible and the New York Times, so I can see what each side's up to. A lot of truth to that. So thank you for assuming the risk, getting in the game, and taking the heat like you do when you stand for principle. I want to take you back just a couple years ago to a scenario that could play out anywhere across this country. Because this is the sentiment, I think, that led to the election of our great president. But go back a few years, and I want you to think of this. Imagine a guy who works second shift at the local plant. Now remember, you work second shift. This guy's working hard for his family, but you miss half your kids' Little League games, you miss some of their after-school activities. Here's a guy working his tail off. My dad worked some second shift, worked mostly third shift. Worked for General Motors. But this guy's working second shift, and he walks out to get in his truck to drive to work. And as he's getting in his truck, he looks a couple houses down on his street, and he sees a guy sitting on the front porch, drinking coffee and reading the paper. And the second shift worker knows the front porch sitter can work, but won't work, and is getting his money. He gets in his truck, he starts driving to work, and as he's driving to work, thinking about the guy back on the front porch, turns on his radio, it's the news hour. A reporter comes on and says the federal government's got a $20 trillion national debt. They got this cronyist program that gives money to favorite corporations. This one company went bankrupt, cost the taxpayers millions of dollars. And the second shift worker hears all that, remembers the guy back on the front porch, and guess what? He's ticked off. And I would argue he has every right to be mad. Same time he's driving to work, there's a lady driving home from work, and she's the second grade teacher at the local school. And she, like all good teachers, my wife is teaching, she's substitute taught today. Like all good teachers that we remember we had in school, put their students first. The good teachers are like missionaries. They're on a mission to help their kids get the skill set, the learning they need to achieve the American dream. She's a second grade teacher, busted her tail all day long helping her students. She's driving home. She has her radio on. Just happens to hear the same reporter say the federal government's got a $20 trillion debt. They got this program that gives money to favorite corporations. This one company went bankrupt. Cost taxpayers millions of dollars. She hears all that as she pulls into her driveway, which just happens to be on the same street. She sees the same guy sitting on the front porch, reading his paper, drinking his coffee, and she knows he can work and won't work and is getting her money. And guess what? She's mad too. And I would argue she has every right to be mad. And I think what happened on November 8th, 2016, it's a bunch of second shift workers, and second grade teachers, and hardworking Americans all across this country said, enough. We have had it. And we're going to put a guy in the White House who's going to shake that place up. And he has not disappointed us. Has he? Think about it. Bob was talking about, but think about this. Regulations down, taxes cut, economy growing at an unbelievable rate, lowest unemployment in 50 years. Gorsuch and Kavanaugh on the court. We're out of that crazy Iran deal. The embassy is now, in fact, in Jerusalem. Hostages have come home from North Korea. And oh, by the way, there's a new NAFTA agreement on the way. All in 2.5 years. That is phenomenal. What I like most about this president, is that energy and intensity and attitude he brings to work every day. My favorite scripture verse, 2 Timothy 4:7. Paul's the old guy giving advice to young guy Timothy. You guys know this one? He says, fight the good fight, finish the course, keep the faith. Fight, finish, keep. Not sissy words, right? Words associated with, when you think about this country, we are not timid folk, we're Americans. This country has always been a nation of action. Those are words of action. Fight, finish, keep. words of energy, words that fit this great nation. And I will tell you this, our president lives that verse every single day. He is fighting for the people who put him in office. He is keeping his promises, and he will not stop until he finishes the job. You see it from, and that is what I saw, particularly at a time like this where the left is taking the positions they're taking. I mean, think about, I said this the other day, the left has gone completely crazy. Think about this. They cheer on Kaepernick when he disrespects our flag. They embrace Governor Cuomo. Remember last fall when Governor Cuomo in New York said, America was never that great? Remember that line? What? Greatest nation in history. And they also cheer on Maxine Waters when she says, go out and harass anyone who supports the president. Remember that big rant she did last summer? Go see the restaurant, you harass it, get in your face at the guy. Remember that? I've shared this with a couple of people before, but literally 2 days after that, Polly and I got the treatment. 2 days after she did that, for the first time, we were in D.C., and we'd never been. We went to the theater. I'd never been to the theater. And we get in there, and there's all this crowd of people. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just a country boy from St. Clair's, Ohio. I'm in the theater. And I got our tickets out. There's a big crowd of people. We're walking up this ramp, and literally all I'm doing is looking for the person in the red coat, right? Because they're going to tell me, yeah, okay, sir, you go through that door, your seat's right. I'm just looking for the person that tells where to go sit. And as we're walking along, there's a big crowd of people. I hear this voice behind me. They go, Jim Jordan. And just the way they said it, I'm like, oh no. And I didn't want to look around because they always got the camera and they're always filming, so I just kind of did the glance. And then this lady, she just started amping it up, and she was like, Jim Jordan, evil, shame, shame. Then she started yelling, and it's embarrassing. Now I'm really looking for the person in the red coat. And finally, Polly, she just turned around and looked at this lady. Polly, just all of 5'3", but she's tough. She turned around and she said, please stop, because it was embarrassing. And then this lady, she says, just looks at Polly, and she goes, I can't believe you're married to this man. I told Polly later, she just said, I can't believe you. Do you believe this guy? Could have done a lot better than this guy, right? But think about that. We finally found a lady in the red coat. She told us where to go and all, but we would never do that. No matter how much we disagree, so we're not going to, it's just embarrassing. But that's today's left. And then you think about the policies, 70% marginal tax increase that they're talking about, getting rid of private health insurance, Green New Deal, as Bob talked about. And I think maybe most telling is what Bob and Frank and others have talked about as well, is their attack on the sanctity of life. And I mentioned to the group ahead of time that, imagine this, I mean, it was, I thought, one of those amazing moments where the President of the United States, at the State of the Union address, talked about the sacredness and the sanctity of human life. That was special, wasn't it? And just pointed it out like, you think about what's really at stake. I always tell folks, the left's attack on the fundamental institution in our culture that I argue ultimately determines the strength of our entire society, our entire country. And that key institution is the family. Never forget. Never forget. First institution the good Lord put together wasn't the church, wasn't the state. It's moms, dads, and kids, right? And you see the left attacking that fundamental institution. And our job as conservatives, our job as Republicans is to protect it. I think, one of the things that makes America so special is this basic principle. Moms and dads will make all kinds of sacrifices so that their kids can have life a little better than they did. And they in turn grow up and marry someone, and they do the same thing for their kids. And that keeps rolling, and then we get this amazing thing we call America. That's what we got to protect. That's what's really at stake here. My background is, some of you know, in the sport of wrestling. I used to work for my brother at his camps, and from time to time you get a student athlete walk up to you and they'd say, Coach, what was the biggest match you ever had, the biggest win, whatever? And I've been fortunate. Our whole family's been fortunate. Wrestling's been kind to us. Of course, I wanted to play middle linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And when I was in grade school, I had it figured out. I love the Pittsburgh Steelers because they won everything back in the 70s when I was growing up. I could name all the players, but my favorite guy was Jack Lambert, who played middle linebacker. That's how I wanted to be. I wanted to be Jack Lambert, but as you all can see, I'm 5'7" and a half on a good day. So we had to wrestle. And wrestling's been great to us, and I've been able to compete all over the place and around the country and even some foreign areas as well. But I tell that kid, the biggest match I ever had, was clear back when I was a 9th grader wrestling the state tournament. And I tell people I won mostly because of my dad. When I really think about it, I won because I was just an ignorant freshman. I didn't know that freshmen weren't supposed to win the state tournament. I didn't know that kids from Southwest Ohio weren't supposed to beat those tough wrestlers from Akron and Canton and Cleveland. I didn't know that some country boy from Graham High School wasn't supposed to win. All I knew is what my dad told me. He said, if you set goals and you work hard, good things can happen. And I was dumb enough to believe him. But he did what parents have done generation after generation. Him and my mom made sacrifices so their 3 kids could go to college and chase down their goals and dreams, and that is what we have to protect in this country. And again, it won't be easy. I mean, you think, when you really boil it all down, it is an attack on freedom. Think about what the left is doing today. You see it from all different angles. You got, well, think about this, not even government yet. Think about big tech. There was this, last summer, I didn't know what this term meant, but there were 4 members of Congress who were shadow banned by Twitter. Again, my staff said, you've been shadow banned. I said, what the heck is shadow banned? I mean, I'm old, I don't know what the young people know what that stuff means. But it made it more difficult for people to access our Twitter account. And there was only 4. Now think about it, there's 100 members of the Senate, there are 435 in the House, 535 for Gates, Meadows, Nunes, Jordan, 4 conservatives involved in this FBI investigation. 4 are shadow banned. And of course, Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, said, oh, this was just a glitch in our algorithm. Really? I said, I was doing some interview and I said, really? A glitch in your algorithm? What'd you put in the algorithm? The names Gates, Meadows, Nunes, Jordan? I mean, come on, do they think we're crazy? So you're seeing it from big tech, from Google. You know how many searches happen a day on Google? Like 5 billion searches a day. Now, if they have certain stories that they put that come up with a search near the top of their list, think of the implications. Think of what that means for elections. So this is scary. So you're seeing it from big tech, you're seeing it on college campuses. Think about this. You heard these terms, safe space, free speech zone. You heard the term bias response teams? Bias response teams are like a bunch of tattletales who run around campus, and if you say something politically incorrect, it can be part of your official record, you can be disciplined. I mean, this is scary. In fact, I'm old enough to remember I thought you went to college to say things politically incorrect, right? Now you're in trouble, you're in big trouble for it. And safe space, we had some hearings on this last Congress when we were in control, and we had some professors. The first hearing we did, we had Adam Carolla and Ben Shapiro, which was hilarious. And Carolla just knocked it out of the park. And Shapiro's like one of the smartest guys going, so it was a lot of fun. Then we had this other hearing where we had some professors come in who'd been on campus where some of this crazy stuff was happening. And I said to this one professor, I said, Professor, on the college campus, can a safe space and a free speech zone be at the same location? Think about it. This is the absurdity of the left. Or I said, is it sort of like one of these diagrams, where a Venn diagram where there's a little bit of overlap? So you have 1 foot in a free speech zone, 1 foot in a safe space, but there's a little bit of real estate in between where it's both safe and free. Think about it. It's craziness. Because where's a free speech zone supposed to be? Yeah, it's called America. It's called the First Amendment. This is going on our campus. I said to the professor, to close out this hearing, I asked this professor a question. I said, he was the liberal guy, and I said, Professor, in a safe space, on a college campus, could I say this sentence? Donald Trump is president. Now think about his response, because his first words were, Congressman, it depends. So I interrupted him, which I like to do sometimes if I think someone's saying something stupid. And I said, it's a fact. There is no it depends about it. He got elected on November 8, 2016. He lives at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. The Electoral College made him he's the president of the United States. But this is where it's going. And this is why the fight's so important and why it's so important you're involved. And think about it. I haven't even mentioned the last one. big government, you know, the bureaucracy in Washington. Remember, it wasn't that many years ago when this agency, which has a big impact on our lives, the IRS, systematically and for a sustained period of time, went after people just like all of us in this room. And what did they go after you for? Exercising your political beliefs, speaking out about your political beliefs on issues. Think about, I mean, when you think about the First Amendment, your right to practice your faith the way you think the good Lord wants you to, our right to assemble, our right to petition our government, freedom of the press, and what's the most important right that we have under the First Amendment? Our right to do what? Speak. And when the founders were putting together the First Amendment about your free speech rights, what kind of speech were they most concerned about? Political speech, what I'm doing right now, talking about politics. They wanted you to be able to speak out about issues and not be harassed by your government for doing so. And yet, what did the IRS do? That very thing. And I thought that was the worst thing I could ever see from our federal government. The worst infringement on liberty I'd ever seen until this past couple of years. When we learned, think about this, when we learned that the FBI took one party's opposition research document, this thing they call the dossier, dressed it all up, made it appear as if it was legitimate intelligence, even though the FBI director, Jim Comey, said it was salacious and unverified. Made it appear that it was legitimate, took it to a secret court to get a warrant to do what? Spy on the other party's campaign. That is scary. The Clinton campaign paid the law firm Perkins Coie, who hired Glenn Simpson and Fusion GPS, who went and hired a foreigner named Christopher Steele, who talked to a couple of Russians, never went to Russia, wrote this garbage document that they took to a court to get a warrant to spy on the Trump campaign. In America, that happened. And it never should. So I am bound and determined to hold people accountable who did that. Think about this. Think about this. When have you ever seen this? I make this point all the time because we have never seen this. Where the top people, Jim Comey, fired, director of the FBI. Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, fired, lied 3 times under oath, currently under investigation by the Justice Department. Jim Baker, FBI Chief Counsel, demoted, then left the FBI, currently under investigation by the Justice Department. Lisa Page, FBI Counsel, demoted, then left. Peter Strzok, Deputy Head of Counterintelligence at the FBI, demoted, then fired. Top 5 people at the FBI, who, oh, by the way, ran the Clinton not the campaign. Freudian slip, I guess, there, right? Ran the Clinton investigation, and then the same people, Peter Strzok was the lead agent on both, launched and ran the Trump-Russia investigation. Unbelievable. So this is serious and it's important. I mean, sometimes it gets, got these investigations, hearings, and you wish you could just work together and do things that are going to help the country, but you have to hold people accountable because we're talking about the fundamentals. Because really, when you boil it down, right now, this is I hear this from everywhere. Everywhere I go, people say, I'm sick of the double standard. We are sick and tired of one set of rules for us regular folk, and a different set if your name is Clinton, Comey, Lynch, Lerner. It's not supposed to operate that way in this great country. So our task is real simple. Our task is real basic. Protect the promise this nation has always afforded its citizens. This experiment in liberty we call America. Protect the promise. There's really 3 simple things. First of all, be willing to fight. Be willing to fight. Do it with a smile. And I love Vice President Pence has a great line. He says, I'm a conservative and I'm not mad about it. Right? That should be our approach. We got the truth on our side. Let's go fight. But understand when you do. This is point number 2. Understand, as I said, I guess at the outset of my remarks, understand that you will be attacked for doing it. It will be hard. But that's life, right? You want to accomplish anything that matters, it's going to be hard. It will be tough. But the guys that Bob was talking about, Franklin and the other founders, they were willing to do it. Any of you ever seen that musical 1776? You guys ever watch it? If you have, it's old. It's made in 1976, the bicentennial. But if you haven't, rent it and watch it. We have our kids all watch it. It's a fun musical, and it's all about in Independence Hall, that hot summer in Philadelphia, where they draft the document and declare to the world why it's appropriate to commit treason. And Adams is sort of the driving force behind this, and it's a great movie. But the scene I like best is Jefferson has written the document, and they're now doing what Congresses and legislative bodies do all the time. They're going to mark it up. They're going to amend it. They're going to change it. They're going to mark it up. And so they're going through this, and Adams is impatient. He wants to get on with it. But they're having a debate. One member stands up and says, we need to change this paragraph. Because when King George sees this, it's a little too hard-hitting. We need to tone it down. He's not going to like that. And Adams rolls his eyes. Pretty soon, another member stands up and says, yeah, this section, we got to change this one as well, because when Parliament sees this, they're not going to like it, and we need to temper it a little bit. Adams rolls his eyes. Pretty soon, a third member stands up, and he says, this particular paragraph has to go all together, because this could jeopardize our deep-sea fishing rights off the coast of New England. And Adams can't take it any longer, and he stands up and says, it's a revolution, dang it, we're going to have to offend somebody. And the point is, we're not trying to offend, but we need to recognize it ain't going to be easy to stand up for the things that matter. The left's not going to roll over. They're going to fight. You see it every day. And the more success the president has, the more success we have as conservatives and Republicans, the more crazy it seems they're going to be. So we just got to understand, fight with a smile, understand it's going to be hard, and talk about freedom. I don't think we should talk about socialism. Talk about freedom and how precious, how valuable it is. Sport of wrestling, I had the opportunity to travel to, I'm so old now, it was still the Soviet Union. I was there in 1987. Been to Cuba a couple times, in Cuba in 1988, Cuba in 1990. And I tell people, you go to places like that, you thank the good Lord you live here. I always tell folks, I was in Moscow in February. Moscow in February, it's like 400 below zero, man. You really thank the good Lord you live here. Food was terrible. Cuba's a warm Soviet Union. It really is. I was there in 1988, as I said. In 1988, they were driving 58 Chevys. 1990, I was there, they were driving 58 Chevys. My guess is in 2019 in Cuba, they're driving 58 Chevys. And understand, it's not the people. People are people. We're all in need of God's grace. It's the system. When you have systems that oppress freedom, that stifle free enterprise, that aren't capitalist economies, bad things happen. And we need to talk about freedom and what it means, real freedom, and the responsibilities that come with it, and the discipline that's associated with it. But that's what we need to focus on. If we do that, we're going to be fine. We've talked a lot about elections. We're going to be fine in 2020 if we stick to the principles that count. Faith, family, freedom, those things that count. We're going to continue to be the greatest nation on the planet. And when we're the greatest nation, and when we're leading, the world is a safer and better place. God bless you. Have a great evening.